Hello, everyone. Brian Ponder here, Brian the credit lawyer. Let's get this thing going. Some housekeeping rules. I want y'all to bear with me. I'm not a professional at this platform by no means. So let me try to get everything up and running. And then we're going to jump right into it. How you doing, Cedric? Welcome. We're going to be broadcasting this also on Clubhouse. So let me get that set up and we're going to jump right into it. Give it 1 second, y'all. If you would share the broadcast with 5 people, that way we can get some others on here. All right, let's do this. Here we go. All right, we're up and running. Today we're going to talk about repo debt deletion strategies, and this is a very important topic because repossession debt is one of the larger debts that can affect people. You have mostly a handful of debts that are really big debts with respect to people fighting debt problems. It's usually credit card debt, medical debt, mortgage debt, and then you have repossession debt. Repossession debt is the debt that occurs when you have an automobile that is financed. And when you finance an automobile, the lender in the retail installment agreement to pay that car off attaches inside of it a security agreement. That security agreement basically says, similar to a mortgage, if you can't honor the payment obligations of this loan to buy this car, your car serves as collateral that can be repossessed and sold to try to satisfy this debt. All right. And it works similar to like a foreclosure. And my light, hold on, let me get my light back going. I warned y'all I'm not a pro at this, so looks like my light battery went out. Let's get some light on me. Okay, so that's how a repossession happens. So let's review. A repossession happens when you have an auto loan that the agreement has a security agreement inside of it saying that if the terms of the auto loan payments are not made, that the lender can come in, take that collateral, which is the car, sell it to try to satisfy the terms of that particular loan. All right. So that's how that works. Now, let's do some definitions about the forms of repossession. So repossession can be what's called involuntary, and it can also be voluntary. So two types of repossession, voluntary and involuntary. All right. What's the difference? Well, involuntary repossession is the kind of repossession that happens when you sleep in the house and you wake up and find your car gone. You're like, oh my gosh. Um, that's one you don't necessarily participate in or want to happen. Okay. So if your car is taken out your yard, it's taken out the parking lot, and you're surprised by it, you didn't tell the lender to come get it. That is involuntary repossession. Now, the other type of repossession is voluntary repossession. That's a repossession where you say, you know what, lender, I can't afford this car. Come and get it. Matter of fact, I'm dropping it off back at the dealership. Y'all can have this. I can't afford these payments. The car, I went and had it appraised at CarMax. They talking about it's worth $10,000. I owe 20. It's upside down. I can't get it refinanced. Y'all can have this. That's voluntary repossession. Okay, so that's the difference. Voluntary, just like the word volunteer, you volunteer for them, the lender, to come take this car. Now, the involuntary repossession, um, you don't want them to come get it, but they come get it anyway. All right, that's something you didn't want to happen. Now, what happens is in both of those scenarios, let's talk about, well, first of all, let's really focus on involuntary. Most people, in my estimation, are dealing with involuntary repossessions where the car was repossessed. What happens is the lender will likely first send you notices saying your payment's late, please pay us. And they're going to send another statement saying or letter saying you're late, please pay us. And if they're not paid, they're going to contract. In most instances, most lenders will contract with an outside company, a repossession company that will, get a repossession order from that lender, and that repossession company, which is a company that has a lot of tow trucks, will go and try to repossess that car. Now, the repossession laws are governed by federal law and state law. The federal law is called the UCC, which stands for Uniform Commercial Code. That's the federal law. Now, each state also adopts their own version of the UCC in their state law. It's usually UCC for that state. Okay. Now, Article 9, Part 6 of the UCC is what deals with these types of transactions, repossessions, which are basically transactions that deal with security interests. Remember, the agreement inside the loan document for financing that car had what's called a security agreement in it, basically making that car collateral. All right. So what will happen is, let's go to the story. That lender, after asking over and over for payment, doesn't get payment, hires a repossession company. The repossession company, in turn, will get that order and identify where the borrower is and the car. And if they're successful, they'll find the car, maybe with the borrower or wherever else, and they will get that car. The laws say that this repossession, getting the car, has to be peaceful. So they have to peacefully do it, which means they can't breach the peace. And so if there's a protest, there can't be any fight in doing this. So it has to be peaceful. Sometimes you'll see repossession people sneak in, grab a car if they can get access to it. If they can't, they may ask the borrower to provide the keys. If there's any type of protest to it, then that's not peaceful. And so the repossession takes place, whether it be the repossession company grabs the car while it's outside, insecure, Insecure meaning they can get to it without breaking into the person's house. They can't break into the garage and get the car. It has to be peaceful. Or if it's in a parking lot or grocery store or work, they can grab that car. That's peaceful. Once they get that car, they're going to take that car to the repossession lot, and then eventually the lender will arrange to pick it up, or whatever arrangement the lender will have to get it to the lender. And the lender will, at that point, arrange for a sale of the car, private or public sale. The lender is supposed to, under the law, send a letter, a notice, specifically a notice to the borrower saying how and when they're going to sell this car. They have to send that to the borrower. After they send that to the borrower, short period of time later, the auction is going to take place. It will be maybe a private auction, a public auction. It's going to be an auction. They're going to sell the car, private sale or public. The public sale is what is known as an auction. That car is going to sell. So, like we spoke about earlier, the balance on that car may be $20,000. However, that car may only go for $10,000 at auction. So, if that loan balance is $20,000 and the car at auction sells for $10,000, then there's going to be what's called a $10,000 repossession deficiency. So the math is how much the loan balance is minus how much the car sells for equals the repossession deficiency. That repossession deficiency is going to be the amount that's going to show up likely on the credit report and a collection letter coming from that. Well, it may be a letter coming from that lender or a letter coming from, in the future, from a collection company or debt buyer. That $10,000 difference is called a repossession deficiency difference. Now, by law, before that lender can collect on that difference, they have to send a calculation of deficiency to that borrower before they start collecting on that, before they start trying to account for that difference from that borrower. They have to do that. All right, that's under the law. Also, the law requires that this sale be in a commercially reasonable manner. So you can't have an under table deal where you sell it just for $1 just so that you can try to claim a huge deficiency. That's not legal. It has to be an arm's length transaction. It can't be a under the table deal. It has to be a bona fide sale. Okay, all those things have to take place. Now, that's the landscape of it. And also, what may happen is that lender will report that balance on your credit report, and that's going to hurt your credit. It's going to show up as a repossession. It's going to show up as an outstanding debt that is due. So it's going to be a very big problem for you. And with that debt sitting there, it's going to affect you being able to get a house, another car, a business loan, business credit. It's going to affect that because that's going to be a big debt. Usually those debts can be, $5, $6, $15, $20,000, depending on how big of a loan. And I know a lot of you have these nice cars. Cars can be $50, $60, $70,000 these days. And these repossessions may take place and you may still have a huge balance. And car depreciation, some of these luxury cars, they depreciate almost 50, half the cost of the car can be the depreciation as soon as you drive off the lot. And so it's very common that these repossessions end up causing the borrower to have a huge repossession deficiency. So what can you do about that? Well, first of all, you can listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you. A lot of the credit repair or things you found on the internet, you might as well just forget about it because it's not going to really be as comprehensive as what you're going to learn here today. I've been very, very successful in helping consumers avoid these repossession deficiency debts. And I'm going to tell you how. All right. The next step of this repossession deficiency amount that's on your credit report, these lenders can sell that debt to a debt buyer. So a debt buyer can come in. I've seen that a lot lately. These debt buyers come in and say in the scenario we're doing, there's a $10,000 deficiency amount. And so a debt buyer can come in and say, hey, I'll give you $1,000 for that $10,000 deficiency amount. So a debt buyer can come in and legally buy that debt or receivable from that lender. And so some of you may see on your credit report, you may see a debt collector. That debt collector most likely may be a debt buyer. You don't know until you get the documents from them. And so these debt buyers will buy those debts for pennies on the dollar, usually. And they, of course, will try to collect that entire amount. All right. And so that's what can happen. Now, some of these debt buyers also recently, I've had clients and all over the nation. I think the last one I did, I think we had a Florida case where this debt buyer will sue the borrower for that money. They're getting very, very aggressive. They're not just putting it on the credit report, but they will sue you for that deficiency. And that can be very scary and intimidating. You have a $16,000 debt and they're suing you for it. You don't know what to do. So there is something you can do to stop that. All right. So let's talk some details. Let me give you a list of things that can be used in your favor, so that you can avoid and delete and eliminate repossession debt. Let's do this. Let me pull this. Pull this to another screen. How about that? All right. Let's there we go. All right. So I think that's working. All right, very good. Let me pull that over here. How about that? Okay, very good. So for those of you that are on YouTube, you're gonna see the screen. We have some people in Clubhouse. We'll describe what we're doing. And so now what I'm looking at is called the UCC. And as far as the part of the UCC we're looking at what's called Article 9, Part 6 of the UCC. And so if you're writing it out, it'll be UCC 9 dash 601 through, it goes down to 628. Okay, but UCC Article 9 is what you would pull up, and you would go to Part 6, and this talks about default and enforcement of security interests. This is some very dense material, but I promise you, I'm going to make it super, super simple. And these super simple parts of this long list of laws will allow you to completely avoid repossession debt. Okay? Now, remember what I said earlier? After the lender repossesses the car, the lender has to send the borrower a notice in the mail. Okay? And that notice must be mailed by the lender before they sell that car. UCC Article 9-611 talks about that notification. And the term is called notification before disposition of collateral. All right, and I'm going to read what has to be done to comply with subsection B. And subsection B, by the way, it says subsection B of this UCC 9-611 says, except as otherwise provided in subsection D, a secured party. Now, secured party is defined as that lender. Okay, there's a security agreement in that loan document, and that lender is the secured party. So it says a secured party that disposes of collateral under section 9610 shall send. All right. Now, if y'all were on here yesterday, I talked about when you see these words, the word shall, that means it's required. So anytime you see the word shall, which is SHALL, that means required. That means there's no exception. Now, the opposite of shall is may. I say opposite, but the other term that you'll see written in some laws is the word may. It'll say may or shall. May means it's optional. Anytime you see shall, I want you to pause and really understand what it's saying has to be done, because whatever is behind that after that shall is a requirement that has to be done. If it's not done, there's a violation of the law. So the secured party that disposes of collateral. Remember, the collateral is the car under section 610. Shall send, okay? So send, shall send to the person specified in subsection C a reasonable, authenticated notification of disposition. Now, this is where I warn you all to slow down, stop your fast life, and really focus in on what you're reading and what you're looking at. Because a lot of you are going to read that and just go on and think, okay, well, but you're dealing with legalities and federal laws here, and this one sentence says so much. First, you have to understand what each word means. Secured party means that lender in that security agreement, the secured party. All right. It's not the borrower. The borrower does not have any security. It's the lender that's the secured party that disposes of collateral. Disposes means sale. The collateral means the car. Section 610. Or section 610 is what. No.
I heard about you can get positive equity out of your repo.
All right. All right. Gotcha. I'll talk about it. So,
Sure.
um, thank you for your question. All right. So, Beyonce just brought up a topic. It's a good part of the discussion to 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 speak about that, and I'll speak about it now. You remember when I told you that the lender will sell the car at an auction, a private sale, or public auction. Now, in some cases, the car may sell for more than the balance. That's not very typical, but imagine a person's almost finished paying off their car, and oh my goodness, the inevitable happens. Excuse me, the inevitable happens, and they get that car repossessed for some reason. Whatever reason, they're unable to fulfill the obligations of their payments and get it repossessed. And so when that happens, the lender will get what's called a surplus, and so that would be what's called equity, and that amount goes to the borrower. Okay, so they have to provide actually a letter of the surplus to that borrower so that that borrower can get it. So yes, there are instances where a repossession can in fact yield equity for that borrower. All right, and that's something we'll talk about in just a second. Just like the lender has to notify the borrower that there's a deficiency before they start reporting it and collecting it, they also have to send the information regarding the surplus in a letter to that debtor. Okay, and that's dictated under UCC Article 9-616. All right. Mo, go ahead with your question. Next question.
Yes, the notice of disposition require. What if I was like a co-borrower?
Okay.
Or what if the joint account?
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into it. We're actually about to get right into that. Thank you, Mo, for leading us back to where we're about to go. So we were just talking about under Article 9-611, notification before disposition of the collateral. And I was really trying to get y'all to understand the fact that you have to really, subsection B, talks that is required for a lender, a secured party that sells the car under Section 610. 9-610 simply is the subsection that talks about disposition of collateral after default, where we're talking about notice of disposition of the collateral before disposition. Okay, and so if that's a mouthful, think about it as a pre-sale letter. Okay, but the official name of it is notification before disposition of collateral, but you can think of it as a pre-sale letter because this letter needs to come pre-sale, before the sale. Let's talk about what has to be done and who it has to be done to. And this is regarding Mo's question. To comply with subsection B. I'm sorry, let's go back. B, we were breaking down each word. Section 610, 9-610, is just about disposition of collateral after default. Shall means it's required. Send means it must be sent to the person specified in subsection C. A reasonable authenticated. What does authenticated mean? Authenticated means signed. It has to be signed. Notification. What's a notification? That could be a letter, email, whatever. It has to be sent. Of disposition. C says no persons to be notified to comply with subsection B, which what we just read. The secured party shall send an authenticated notification of notice of disposition to. All right, here we go. We have a list of 3 things. And when you have a list of things, numbered list of things, look at the penultimate, which means the next to last item, and look at the end of it and see if it has the word and or. If it has the word and, that means all three things must be done. If it has the word or, it just means any one of them can be done. This list has 1, 2, and 3. So, to Mo's question, this notice must go to the debtor, the secondary obligor, and if the collateral is other than consumer goods, is a list of other people. Okay? So, to Mo's question, this notice has to go to what y'all say the primary borrower or secondary borrower. So if it was co-signed by someone, that would be a secondary obligor. So this notice has to go to both. Um, Consumer goods, that definition is typically what y'all are dealing with. This is not a commercial truck or commercial vehicle, but a consumer goods is defined. If you were to click on that word in blue in that law, it means a transaction which an individual incurs the obligation primarily for personal, family, or household purposes. So if this is a car, your personal car, it was purchased for that primary reason. Well, that's a consumer goods transaction. And a security interest in consumer goods secures the obligation. So what we're talking about here is definitely, if this is your personal car, not your, dedicated work vehicle. I'm not talking about, just because you buy a car and plan to take it to work every day. That's not a commercial vehicle. Like if you have a trucking company and buy a truck, that's different. Um, but if it is a truck, a work truck, then number 3 just gives you a list of other things that must be done. I'm not going to read that, but it's a list of other things that must be satisfied if it's other than a consumer goods transaction. But for most people on here, if we're talking about repossessing your, non-work dedicated car that's on your personal credit report, that notice has to be sent to you, the debtor, or whoever the debtor is, and if there's a cosigner, that cosigner. All right, Mo, you got that?
Yes.
All right. So very good. All right. So we go back now. What you can think about, first of all, that notice has to be sent. If that notice is not sent and that car is sold, then the UCC law regarding repos has been violated, and that lender cannot claim a deficiency. Okay, I'm gonna skip to Article 9-625, and that section says remedies for secured parties failure to comply with the article. That spells out in subsection A that if it's established that a secured party is not proceeding in accordance with this article, a court may order or restrain collection, enforcement, or disposition of collateral in appropriate terms and conditions. Also, the the uh, the you can recover damages for noncompliance. Part B says, subject to subsections C, D, and F, a person is liable for damages in the amount of any loss caused by failure to comply with this article. Loss caused by failure to comply may include loss resulting from the debtor's inability to obtain or increased costs of alternative financing. Y'all get that? So if they didn't comply with this law and you were unable to get future financing because this deficiency was on your credit report, you can get the actual value of that loss. Now, what you should notice is there's no limit. So if you missed out on $1 million deal, technically you can have $1 million loss if because that deficiency was on your credit report, etc. So it's some very stiff penalties, but the most tangible penalty is they're stopped from trying to collect a deficiency if they did not follow these rules. Okay, so simple as that. If they don't send you that notice before selling the car, they cannot collect a deficiency. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, um, how far how far before the sale must they send this notice to the debtor? And when I say debtor, we're talking about, the person who's is on the loan, or the co-borrower. That's who must get it, right? All right. To look at the timeliness of it, you look at UCC 9-612. That section is entitled Timeliness of Notification Before Disposition of Collateral. Want to make that simple? Time, when do they have to send a pre-sale letter? Okay. If that was too much of a mouthful, you can just say, when do they have to send the pre-sale letter? Part A says reasonable time is a question of fact. Okay, well, that's not helpful. Let's see what that says. Except as otherwise provided in subsection B, whether a notification is sent within a reasonable time is a question of fact. What does that mean? In other words, within a reasonable time, within enough time for a person to be able to get to the sale and see if it's done properly. Okay. Unfortunately, they don't tell you in the law exactly how soon you need to get this letter. Now, if you get it now, would you think the day of the sale would be a reasonable time? No. Okay. Now, subsection B says 10-day period sufficient in non-consumer transaction. Now, we just talked about what a consumer transaction was, right? So, non-consumer transaction would be like we talked about, a business transaction. And let me actually pull up. Let's pull up the YouTube. Make sure. See if we see how we do on YouTube here as well. All right. So let's see. Oh man, we don't have any. Looks like we don't have a. We don't have any super chats or anything on this thing. We have to fix that later, but I'll just put that on there for y'all. We'll pin it there. So those of you on YouTube watching, if you're finding this information helpful, go ahead and Cash App, Venmo. Go ahead and make that happen. Unfortunately, looks like the super chat is not on there, but we'll get that done one day. All right, so we're gonna keep it moving, and I'm gonna see. All right, we're gonna see what questions we have. All right, we got another hand. So again, we're gonna try to get to everybody's question, and it's fine. It's fine to jump in with your question, because I'm gonna go through three things. It's gonna be. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right away. It's gonna be three things is going to get your repossession debt eliminated, and we're on number one. So let's make sure we have number one figured out. Go ahead, Kevin. You have a stage.
Hey, Brian. Hey, everybody. My question was, how do you prove that you were never actually contacted before the sale? Would it be your word against theirs?
Gotcha.
How are you able to prove that they never contacted?
Gotcha. And I appreciate your question, Kevin. Kevin asked a very good question. And by the way, before I get there, I want to say timeliness. So if the law is saying a 10-period time period is sufficient for a non-consumer transaction, we can sort of figure out that perhaps 10 days would be reasonable. So, if you have notice 10 days before the sale, I would venture to say that that's a reasonable time period. Okay. I would venture to say that a week is a reasonable time period. You just need enough time. The purpose is for you to have enough time to go and make sure this sale, whether it's private or public, is a arm's length transaction, basically a reasonable sale. Okay, you go to a sale, there's one person there, and they have the same shirt on. you can tell that's not a reasonable transaction. Kevin, thank you for that question. And so for Kevin's question, let's go back and let's look at article UCC article 9611. Now 611 subsection B, which said the secured party that disposes of the collateral shall send. Okay. Now Kevin is asking, all right, I didn't get it. Okay. I didn't get it. So how do we assert, how do we prove that the lender did not send it? And that's a great question. Okay. Because that's where the fight's going to happen. Because as soon as you try to bring up the point that y'all didn't send me a pre-sale letter or what's called notification before disposition of collateral, they're going to say, yes, we did. And as a matter of fact, here's a copy. But Kevin is saying, I didn't get this. Okay. I get all my mail. I have not moved. Or if Kevin did move, I have mail forwarding. Okay. And the date that you say you sent it was the date in which I had mail forwarding. And that's a very good question, Kevin, because they're going to say, oh, well, we sent it. All right. So understand, first of all, the legal requirement is that it be that they shall send it. There's no legal requirement that you receive it. So first of all, understand that, actually overstand it, because you have to understand the legal requirement is that it was sent. So how do you prove that they didn't? All right, we're back. So it's going in and out, and I'm on this StreamYard. I apologize. So hopefully y'all can bear with me here, but we're gonna make this. We're gonna get it done. Um, I don't think the media wants you to have this information personally. This is really, the bankers are not liking this at all. Trust me, they are not liking this. I bet you if we talk about something else, this would not be going in and out. So back to Kevin's question. The legal requirement is that this lender shall send it. Okay. And the law says it shall be sent, shall send. As soon as you bring up this issue, they're going to claim that it was sent. How do you prove it? Well, they're going to have to, how can they prove they sent it? Well, you have certified mail return receipt. That's a way they can prove that it was sent. All right. Well, if you haven't noticed, this law does not require that they send it certified mail return receipt. This is the federal law. Now, if you look at the state law, some states require, they understand that this is going to pose a problem for consumers and, nefarious lenders. Some states in their UCC require that this notice be sent by certified mail. And so that helps that problem. But under the UCC law, it does not. And so technically, for the lender to be able to prove that they sent it, they would have to produce a certified mail return receipt. All right, let's talk about that for a second. You say, I never got it. Prove to me you sent it. Well, we sent it. Matter of fact, here it is. That's the lender talking. Here it is. I didn't get it. Do you have a certified mail return receipt tracking number? Yeah, we do. Here it is. What you do with that, you take that certified mail return receipt number, go to USPS website, and you put that number in, and you see what pops up. Many times, if you didn't get it, you put that number in, it will say no information. Why? Because they never sent it. They will make up a dummy certified mail return label and claim it was sent, but it was never sent. All right. Another telltale sign when they send you a return receipt and it's not stamped return receipt. You know, those things are stamped at the post office if it's a green card. So you have to look up that number, and if nothing comes up, guess what? They have not proved that they sent it. All they did was provide you with a dummy tracking number. So you have to look out for that. If you bring that up to them, they're going to say, well, some of you may be dealing with repossessions over 2 years old. Well, after 2 years, the Postal Service does not, their tracking system does not pull up tracking information. Okay, fine. Well, you need to prove that. So therefore, that's not your problem. Then you need to prove that this mail was in fact sent. Then, if it was sent certified mail, what should they have in their possession? A return receipt, green card, electronic return receipt with the signature, electronic return receipt, with the tracking. Okay, so you can tell them to provide that. Now, recently I had a case where they said, well, it's not required that we send it certified mail. That is true. So how are you going to prove that it was sent? Well, we know it's sent because our vendor said it was. Oh, so you didn't send it. So your vendor sent it. So what do you have from your vendor to prove that it was sent, other than them noting in their records that it was sent? That's not proof that it was sent. So if that vendor doesn't have certified mail return receipt, then what can they provide? Well, first of all, they're going to have to provide something, because you're going to have to prove it to the court if you take it to court. What I recommend next is, all right, y'all don't have a certified mail return receipt. Well, give me a sworn affidavit of the person who sent it. Who sent it? First of all, who sent it? Who actually sent it? Most of these large lenders use an outside vendor. And I recently learned this in a case I was doing. I thought most of these things came from the lender itself, but they have an outside vendor, which makes it a little bit more complicated and a little bit less control and more favorable for the consumer, in my opinion, because now this lender can't even prove that they sent it. Now it's dependent on the vendor proving that it was sent. So the only other thing other than certified mail would be an affidavit of the person who actually prepared and sent it. Prepared, not so much, but who sent it. The law says it must be sent to these people. And so an affidavit is a sworn statement, meaning the person has to swear under penalty of perjury that the information they're stating is in fact the truth. To this day, I've never received a sworn statement of mailing. Because if we go to court and this person submits this as evidence, they're subject to the penalty of perjury, and it is a crime if it's a lie, and perjury, can have jail time. So that's how you deal with that. I believe Kevin had that question, which is a very good question, because this is how you're going to get out that debt. They're not going to be, if they can't prove they sent that pre-sale letter, it's not about you receiving it. So it's not about that. It's not about you getting it. If they can't prove it was sent, then they're not in compliance with the UCC. What specifically? The notification, the pre-sale notice letter. Okay. So very good question. It sort of wraps me up with number one. Some of you are maybe thinking, well, I think I got that letter and I don't know, but can I utilize this to my advantage? Yes, you can. I mean, the law doesn't talk about you receiving it. It says it must be sent. And so if they can't prove that it was sent, then you can use this as a vehicle to eliminate and delete that repossession deficiency completely. Simple as that. I don't care if it's a $90,000 Bentley repossession debt. If they can't prove they sent this pre-sale letter, then they're precluded, they're prevented from being able to try to collect that deficiency. Any questions about that? That's number one. That's how you can avoid that repossession debt. If the lender doesn't send you that pre-sale notice, then you're off the hook. Got it? All right. Now let's talk about anyone have any questions? Let's see. Let me look in the okay. Let's look on the YouTube. Now listen. I posted my Cash App is Brian L. Ponder. So if y'all finding some value in this, whether you are on YouTube or Clubhouse, if I'm creating some value for you, you can show the appreciation by making that donation on that Cash App, Brian L. Ponder. I charge $400 an hour for my time, so I can keep doing this and helping people. You all, I appreciate any donations you want to give there. So let's check out this Cash App and see what's going on. Cat Brian L. Ponder. So I'm answering y'all's questions. I'm gonna check this Cash App and see if anyone is appreciating what's happening here. Let's see if I got any donations. I went through number one. Let's see what we got here. And I don't have the super chat set up, so I have to set that up. But so far I have zero Cash App, so I guess this information is not of value. So let's see how many likes. So how many people do we have watching? So we have, how many people do we? All right, we have a room of a couple dozen people, and we have 17 watching on YouTube. I have one thumbs down and 6 thumbs up. What's up with that? So we have a troll with a thumbs down, and then we have 7 of 17 people with a thumbs up. So what's going on here? What's happening for real? Let's see. All right. So yesterday I was telling y'all y'all have some heavy hitters, myself included, volunteering their time to bring you some valuable information. This information can help you all eliminate, and I appreciate that, Beyonce. I appreciate that. Kevin, I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate that. So I want to give y'all the information. This information can be used to help you. I'm not talking about, this is not, so whatever you learn about credit repair, just throw it out the window. This is debt elimination. So you don't have to file Chapter 7. These techniques I'm showing you, you don't have to file Chapter 7 to eliminate this debt. I'm showing you how you can take a repo that's on your credit report and eliminate it completely. And if you heard me earlier, if it's not eliminated and it hurts you financially, you can get all that money back under federal law. So you were trying to do a big business deal, you lost out of it because of this repo. You can sue and get actual damages for it. So so I appreciate the Beyonce, Kevin. I appreciate you. But yeah, hit me up on the Cash App. And if you don't know what it is, you can go to my profile. You have Venmo, you have Cash App. Cash App, Brian L. Ponder. Venmo, Brian Dash Ponder. If you own the Venmo, the last four digits of the phone number is 9597. So, but yeah, let's get on to the next question, and then we're still on number one. What's number one? Uh, Pre-sale letter. Okay. Madeline, how you doing, ma'am? And welcome.
Hi,
Doing,
hi.
doing
So
great.
first of all, I just want to thank you. I do have a class with you on the 20th of this month under
Hmm.
Mark. So I'm really, really geeked because if it's anything like the information you're providing now, I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready. So I thank you for sharing this information, and I will be
You're very welcome.
on your Cash App, and I'm looking forward to the 20th.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, um, I want to create some value for you all, and I appreciate y'all showing love on the Cash App. Natalie Green, we're gonna bring her up. We're gonna, like I said, bring your
Hey,
question. How you doing?
good. Thank you for taking my call. I just
Absolutely.
wanted to know if the things change, do the rules change for voluntary repossession?
Okay. Okay. Great question. And that's why I want y'all to ask those questions as we go along here. You can go ahead and mute for a second,
All right.
because let me see here. Here we go. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So great question. Natalie asked the question: do any of the rules change if it's voluntary? Great question. No, no, it doesn't. If you take your car and voluntarily give it back to the lender, take it to the dealership. Well, first of all, by the way, let me let y'all understand that the dealership is not the lender. Now, I say that a little tongue in cheek because if you look at your retail installment agreement, the seller and secured party and lender is actually the dealership. Okay, so I say that, but it's a little tongue in cheek because, in fact, if you look at the agreement, the dealership is the seller lender of the contract, and if you look down a little bit, you'll see they assign it to another company, which will be, your Santanders, your GMAC Finance. They take assignment of your contract. And assignment, for those of you who don't know, is a legal term to where a party to a contract gives their rights to the contract to another person. And so, to answer Natalie's question, whether you take your car down there voluntarily or not, they still have to follow the UCC. But I want you to understand that most of 99.99% of the time, these loan agreements are assigned to a secondary lender, and so that lender is in the shoes of the secured party if that's a legal assignment. So the secured party then becomes the owner of that contract. So that's how that works. Um, so if it's voluntary, most people, where are you going to take it? You're not going to take it to Detroit, Michigan, to GMAC, or Texas to Santander's headquarters. So you may think you can take it to the dealership. Most people say, you know what? I don't want this car. I'm taking it to the dealership. Y'all can come get it. Understand, first of all, it's probably going to sit at that dealership, and maybe the lender will come get it. If the lender does come get it and plans to sell it, they have to send that pre-sale letter. So the rules that we're talking about here apply whether you turn the car in or if they come snatch it from you. All right, Natalie, got that? Okay. All right, we're gonna take another question, and I'm gonna jump to see what questions we have here in the chat on YouTube. And Adam, welcome. You have the stage for your question.
I want to kind of ask sort of the same thing. Would this apply if you're still in possession of the collateral, if you still have the vehicle?
No, because it's not repossessed. So
Got it.
if you still have your car, it's not a repossession deficiency yet. You just straight deficient. You just straight in default. So for this stuff to apply, there has to be a repossession and a sale to have taken place. Okay.
Okay. Are you going to talk about, if you still have possession of the vehicle, but you're already in collections and getting those notices and everything?
No, we're not talking about that today.
Oh, okay.
But this talk is about a repossession. What you're referring to is just late payments, and yeah, that may be another topic. But this is a repo lecture about you have a repossession deficiency, and to have a repossession deficiency, you have to have a repossession, and you have to have a deficiency. So,
Well, they were in repossession, but they never recovered the vehicle.
okay, so you're saying there's a repossession on the credit report, but you still have the car?
Yes.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So that's a beautiful thing because all you have to do, and you forced me, I guess, to talk about it, is dispute it because it's not repossessed. That's inaccurate. That's an inaccurate trade line. You can dispute that and say it's inaccurately listed as a repossession, and the consumer reporting agencies they have to delete that. Technically, they could modify it, but you want it deleted. And if they don't delete it, you can take the consumer reporting agency to court and get $1,000 because you have the car. It's not a repossession until they get the car. So you can have that delete off your credit report right now for it being listed as a repossession. It's not. Make sense? That's a FCR.
Yes.
That's a FCRA violation. Okay.
But my question was like, I am in repossession. They're actively trying to get me to turn the vehicle in, but I still have possession of it. So that's why I was kind of curious if any of these tactics work in that.
Well, my question for you is, how is it showing up on the credit report?
To be honest, I have not looked on
Gotcha.
exactly if it's shown as a repo or not. I know it's charged off.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I was giving you a scenario as if they're listing it as a repo. You're in default, and it's not repossessed until it's taken. So yeah. So you're in what's called default stage. You don't you're not in the repo stage yet until it's taken from you, whether voluntarily or involuntarily. So if you were to drop it off to them and they get possession of it, then you're in a repo phase. And then once they sell it, you're in the sale phase. But yeah, all right. Thanks for your question, Adam.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, and I appreciate you, Barbara, Marlo, Adam. Thank you, Bindley, for those cash apps, and anyone else that Venmoed. Let me see, how does your letter work for this? Okay, so I'm gonna take some more questions, but we're on step one. Remember, step one is that lender has to send that pre-sale letter. Has to be sent within a reasonable period of time. The legal requirement is that it's sent. Just because they say they sent it doesn't mean it was sent. Challenge them. Where's your certified return receipt? Check that number. Doesn't come up, it wasn't sent. Send me an affidavit of who sent it. Who sent it, by the way? What's the person's name? Send me an affidavit. Did your company send it or your vendor send it? What
it's almost 5 years since the date of last activity, since he made his last payment. He in the process of that repossession, he moved. So he doesn't really know if they sent any papers, or he doesn't know what the vehicle they did repossess it. He doesn't know anything about it other than he had called once and they said that the leftover was about 14,000. So I'm kind of confused as to what, other than what would be the next step. Should I send it like asking for the credit bureaus to verify it first?
Okay, so he's trying to delete. All right, so good question. I'll tell you. So
And
go ahead.
before, I was just going to say, before I forget, I also emailed you and left you a voicemail. On my own credit, I requested a validation from a credit collection. They sent me my entire medical file, but I did email you briefly with my phone number, and I know this is a repo room, so you know.
Okay. Do you have a copy of my book, Four Steps to Better Credit?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
I purchased the book, and then I also got your letters as well
Mm-hmm.
through email.
So you'll find none of my materials ever ask any into well, does it never asks a consumer reporting agency to verify anything. Um, when you're dealing with a debt collector, there is a 1692 GB letter that requests verification, and the only reason that word is used is because it's a legal requirement that is triggered. But you never want to ask consumer reporting agency to verify anything because that's just what they'll do. They'll do exactly what they, when you ask them to do that, they'll have no problem doing that for you. But
Okay.
but anyway, as far as dealing with the repossession, I actually have what's called a DIY, a repo deletion and dispute package that gives you all the forms, basically all the things that I'm taking you through these steps. There's a set of letters that will walk you through how to request these things that are required under the law. Inevitably, they're going to come back and
Okay.
say they sent these letters. So I have a second follow up letter that challenges that it was sent and has all the language in it. And then I have a third letter that pretty much brings it home. Like, look, y'all have missed the bar. You need to go ahead and delete that and forever stop trying to collect it. And that's called my repo deletion package. It's actually on my website, brianponder.com. You look at, I think
Okay.
it's products. You'll see it right there. It's a package of letters that you can buy, and it walks you right through it. It's actually I have credit repair people that use this, and they're having a field day deleting repossession deficiency. So mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually looked at it earlier. Now that 1692, that will actually work also after, even though it's almost 4 years old.
Yeah, yeah. So are you talking about repo debt, or are you talking about just regular collections?
Well, so the repo debt, that 1692 that would go to the bureaus, correct?
No, no, it does
No,
not.
it goes to the.
It,
Okay.
it goes to the lender or whoever's trying to collect it. Now the repossession. Now the 1692 GB letter is meant for debt collectors. All right. Now in a repo deficiency situation like what we're describing, there may not be a debt collector involved. You're dealing with a lender or a secondary lender. When I say secondary lender, that could be, where who it was assigned to. You may, in some special situations, be dealing with a debt collector or a debt buyer. But if you're dealing with repos, you have y'all ever tried to, for you people that deals with tools, you know what a plier is? Pliers, you can grab the nut and unscrew it, right? You got me?
I do, yes.
Now, if it's on there tight, which they should be, what happens? You can get it off, right?
Right.
But what's the risk here? It's not gonna be. You can strip it. That's the GB letter.
Okay.
If you have a 10 millimeter nut and 10 millimeter, socket wrench or whatever, you can get it off. That's what the repo package is. It's perfect for repo.
Okay.
You're not gonna, yeah, you're not gonna strip it. It's so, um, it's perfect for the repo. It's
Okay.
it's perfect for the repo. Now the GB letter, you're gonna miss all. I mean, you're gonna likely strip it. You may get it off, but you may strip it, and it's not perfect for it. The GB is the generic collection issue. And first of all, if it's still with the original lender or a secondary lender before default, meaning this thing is going to transfer as soon as it's sold. So that lender that you're paying is not a debt collector, even though it's not truly the original creditor, but it's not a debt collector either. And that's a whole nother lecture. But anyway, anyone trying to get off a repo, you want that repo deletion package because these UCC laws is what that package deal with, not FDCPA. Now, okay, so let me put it another way. The UCC laws we're discussing applies to every repo. The 1692 GB letter only applies to a small number of repos collections that are with debt buyers or debt collectors. And so that's why you would want to get the 1690 the repo deletion package if you're dealing with a repo. If you're dealing with a repo and you're just using 1692 GB letter, you're using pliers to take off, a big solid, bolt that's on there tight. You may be successful,
Okay.
but you likely not going to strip something, and so that's how that works.
Okay.
Makes sense?
Okay. I will. It definitely does, and like I said, I've read your book, and I try to jump into every room when I see
Mm-hmm.
you on there. I was on there the other night, but the room ended, and I wasn't able to find you again. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna definitely look at the repo package and probably get it, and then I don't want to take up any more time, but
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I did send you an email to Brian Ponder
Mm-hmm.
concerning my own Medin file. So anyway, I appreciate talking to you, and look forward to talking to you again. Thank
All
you.
right, I'll look out for that cash app too here.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna get back to it. Follow the moderators. We have Vito here moderating as well. Thank you, Vito, for your help. Um, let's see here. And all right, so again, we have a few questions online. First of all, the Cash App is Brian L. Ponder. Venmo is Brian Dash Ponder. Um, on YouTube, I'm gonna have to work and make sure I get that super chat going. But y'all go ahead and if this is a value to you, uh, go ahead and hit me up with the Cash App, please. Thank you. We have a question by Real Talk with Trinity. So I have a repo on my credit, but the dealer took it back because we were fighting about the car being a lemon. The car was in an accident, but I wasn't informed. There's no balance on the repo. It's just on my credit. How do I have that removed? So no balance meaning zero balance. Um, yeah. If there's if there's no balance and it's just a repo, then you're gonna rely on what's called a CRA letter in my book. So if you buy my book, 4 Steps to Better Credit, which you can find on my website, you're going to use what's called a CRA letter, and then you're going to look at that trade line, identify anything in there that's inaccurate and incomplete, and then you're going to identify it and then ask for it to be deleted completely utilizing the CRA letter. So you would not use a repo letter necessarily if it's a zero balance, if it's not being reported as a balance. Okay. How does your letter work for this loyalty enterprise? So if as far as repos go, it's actually a series of letters, and I've done so many of these. I know every move is like a chess. It's like a checkers with only a few boxes. Tic tac toe, I would say. And so these letters is going to request what's necessary um, for the lender to be able to claim a deficiency. If they can't provide it, it pretty much ties them down to deleting and stopping the collection of that debt. So that's how that letter works. We're going to move on to the number two. Number two. So number two, if you look at UCC Article 9, And actually, let me do this. What I want to tell y'all, number one, the pre-sale letter. What if they can prove they sent it? It's sent certified mail to your right address. They have everything perfect. Okay. Well, now there's more. The content of that notice has to have certain language for it to be compliant. And UCC Article 9(6)(14) talks about that. Contents and form of notification before disposition of collateral consumer goods transaction. Now remember, you can have a non-consumer goods, general, and you have consumer goods. We want to look at the consumer goods one because this is a personal car. And so if you look at that, it's going to show what it needs to say. Okay. It's going to have specific information in it. And to find that information, go to Article 9 of the UCC-614. Now, on that notice, it's going to say whether it's a public sale. On the law, that means public disposition. It's going to have the date, time, and place. It's going to have to say you may attend the sale. Or it can be a private sale. If it's a private sale, it's going to have the specific language that's in this law. We will sell the particular collateral at private sale sometime after this date. Okay. So it's going to have specific language. If you need more information about the sale, call us at this number. Okay. So the private sale would have a time. It may sell sometime after a date. A public sale will have the date, time, and place. Okay. So again, but before you start looking at the content of it, be sure your focus is on making them prove that it was actually sent. Now, if they're perfect with that, and then you could transition to look at the content of it. If the content of the notice is not consistent with the law, then they have not fulfilled step one. If they have not fulfilled step one, you do not need to worry about number 3, 2, and 3 because they've already failed one. They have to comply with every step. So if they haven't complied with step one, you're good. You can focus on now just eliminating that debt based on their non-compliance with the pre-sale letter. Got it? Any questions about that? We can move on to number 2. So here's the second way you're going to be able to eliminate repossession debt. And by the way, can we get the likes up? We have 13 watching, 10 likes on YouTube. Also, let's get some Cash Apps flowing if this is of value to you. Cash App information is Brian L. Ponder, L for Lamar. Brian L. Ponder. All right. So look, let's get to number 2. The second way you're going to be able to eliminate and delete your repossession debt is by the fact that after they sell this repossessed car, they're going to have to send another letter, which is called an explanation of calculation of deficiency. That is UCC Article Section 9-616. So 616. I'm sorry. 9-616. That section is called explanation of calculation of surplus or deficiency. Again, surplus means it sells for more than what's owed, and you're owed money. What we're talking about today really is about the deficiency. This is when it sells for less than what's owed, and you owe them money, allegedly. Okay? That's a mouthful, right? Explanation of calculation of deficiency. Call it post-sale letter. Post-sale letter. UCC Article 9-616. All right. Subsection B says, in a consumer goods transaction which the debtor is entitled to a surplus or a consumer obligor is liable for a deficiency under Section 9-615, the secured party shall, now here we go again, shall, and below this we have a list of 2 things. And between that list of 1, 2, we have the word or. So it means the secured party, which is the lender, as you may understand, they shall, one, send an explanation to the debtor or consumer obligor, same thing, as applicable, after the disposition and, A, before or when the secured party accounts to the debtor and pays any surplus, or first makes written demand on the consumer obligor after the disposition for payment of the deficiency. Okay? And within 14 days after receipt of a request. So let me break that down for you. The car was repossessed December 14th, 2020. The car was sold January 7th, 2021. Before that lender starts sending you notices of what's due as a deficiency, they have to send you an explanation of how they calculated that deficiency. Okay? And I want to tell you what's required in that. But let's talk about it. What if you get a bill in the mail saying, send us $10,000 because we sold your car and that's what's owed? That's a violation because it's not explained how they came up with that number. Okay, so what if you, on your credit report, you send this deficiency before you got an explanation? Well, that's like a written demand. They've already communicated indirectly to you what's owed. That's a violation of the UCC. Okay, so next thing, what if they sell it, but they don't try to collect on it? They haven't, and like this other person said, it's zeroed out on a credit report per se, or say if nothing changed, they haven't, or let's say actually they haven't updated the credit report yet. They haven't even communicated. So before the sale, you had a balance, and they haven't even communicated to the consumer reporting agencies any change yet. Technically, that's an issue on the FCRA side, but let's understand they haven't communicated to the consumer reporting agencies this change at all or anything. And this is January, you're trying to get your things in order. You're on the come up. You got my book, you got 4 Steps to Better Credit, you're learning about taking control of your credit. Matter of fact, you got with Vito, you got some trade lines. You're in a billion private banking program. You're about to turn your family into a banking structure. I mean, you just getting everything in order, but you never received anything about this car that was repossessed. So you send them a request of an explanation of what you may owe. When you send that request and they get it, once they receive it, first of all, send it certified mail, because within 14 days, they're going to have to send you an explanation. If they don't, guess what? That whole balance is waived if they're trying to collect on it. Even if they're not trying to collect on it, if they don't comply with that request for explanation of deficiency, then they can't collect the deficiency. Isn't that sweet? Okay. So for those of you, like someone said, that it's not reporting or it's not updated, you send a request, certified mail. If they don't comply with it within 14 days in explaining what's owed fully, you don't owe anything. They can't collect it. They have to delete it at that point. All right. Now, part 2 says, in the case of a consumer obligor who is liable for deficiency, within 14 days after receipt of a request, send to the obligor a record waiving the secured party's right to a deficiency. So they can send you a letter saying, hey, okay, look, we waive it. All right. So they can do that. They can do that. Make sure we're still good here. All right, we're still good. Good. All right, so good. So you got that? Any questions? Let's see. We got some questions. So that's number 2, that post-sale letter. We got Mo. Let's see. What's going on with my Cash App, y'all? Is this valuable information? $ Brian L. Ponder. What's going on? I know I don't have super chat, but let's get a Cash App going. What's up? Mo, go right ahead.
Yes, all of those subsections. Can you go over those subsections? Those articles on UCC section, but not subsection, but section. Like which ones, as far as just for repossession, like 610, 625, like.
It's 611. The post sale letter, well, 9 UCC Article 9. It starts at 611. That's one. The second thing we were talking about is UCC Article 9-616. That's what of surplus or deficiency. That's number 2. So we talked about number 1, UCC Article 9-611. All right, here we go. And those of you on YouTube, I know we're having some, like I said, the banks do not want me to share this information. So you see how they're doing this. This is not favorable to the banks. So you got to bear with me. Thank you, Cedric, for the PayPal. Thank you. Yeah, come on, y'all. If y'all, find this information valuable, drop me. I don't have super chat, but drop a cash app. Brian L. Ponder, Venmo, Brian Dash Ponder, or PayPal, Brian at brianponder.com. Here we go. So we're on number 2. Well, number 1, pre-sale letter. Number 2, post-sale letter, which is explanation letter. That explanation letter is under UCC Article 9-616. We talked about that. Now, subsection C of that talks about the required information. Let's see here. That information that has to be in that explanation is a list of 6 things. What did I say earlier about when you see a list? Look at the penultimate thing on that list. What's the penultimate thing on that list? The next to last thing on that list. Look at the end of that and see if you see the word and or. If you see the word and, that means everything on that list must be done by the person that the law is talking about. They're talking about the secured creditor, the lender. So with that and between 5 and 6, that means the lender must do number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6. Hold on a second, it's about my Mustang. Hello. Hey, Brett. Hey. Uh, yeah, I'm just gonna tune it for the 93 octane, but I do want to keep it the ProFlex connected to it. But yeah, I'm just want to tune it for the 93. Hmm. Nice, nice. Okay, thanks. Let me know how it does. Thank you. All right, bye. All right. Sorry about that, y'all. Trying to get this Mustang on the dyno, so make some horsepower. But you have six things here. That and I'm telling you, when you see that word and, y'all should be making a bullet list. So again, you should not be on this number 2 post sale letter if um if you haven't fully exhausted number 1, the pre-sale letter. Okay, you understand that? Because if they have not fulfilled the pre-sale letter requirements, you don't need to be on number 2, the post sale letter. But if you're here, first of all, we got to make sure it was sent. And if everything is sent perfectly and all that, now we have to look at the content. If the content does not comply with each of these 6 things, then it's over. If they didn't do number 4, it's over. If they didn't do number 6, it's over. So they have to comply with each of these 6 things. Any questions about that? And again, the post sale letter, the explanation letter, is UCC Article 9-616. Okay. Y'all got that? And let's see, we're not getting any more cash apps, I guess. Is this information valuable? Let's, y'all let me know. Any questions? Raise your hand. So we're down to, that's number 2. Number 3. Let's scroll down a little bit. We got a question here. Let's pull up.
Excuse me, I have your plugs in.
Go right ahead, Miss Shulendra.
Shulendra, yes.
What do I win?
So I am new to credit world. I've done a little bit of credit deletions of my own, just basic information, but I do have a friend that I told about some of these classes, and they have a repo from 8 or 9 years ago. And so he's actually coming to my home on Saturday just so I can just show them the little stuff that I've learned thus far. But I did want to, I think I heard in another room you had an ebook, but I got myself as well as helping family members. So would that be just a simple requesting?
Okay.
I got poor connection. Can you guys hear me now?
Okay, so this is regarding the repo, right? Okay, Shalindra, you're back. Is your issue regarding the repo for this person?
Yes.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So
9 years ago.
gotcha. So all right, very good. So thank you for that. And let me hold on one second. All right, so for the repo, first of all, yes, everyone on here, by the way, go to my profile, Instagram, website, brianponder.com, however you need to go. You're going to see where you can get a copy of my book. You should get a copy of my book, 4 Steps to Better Credit. It's going to be sent to you by Amazon Prime. So everybody on here, go ahead and take a moment. Go ahead and do that on your Amazon app. 4 Steps to Better Credit, yellow book. You can go right to Amazon, look it up. You can go to my website, brianponder.com. You can go to my Instagram, get it. 4 Steps to Better Credit. Now, once you order that book, you're going to get an email from Amazon confirming your order. with that email, what you want to do is forward that email to me, brian@brianponder.com. My email is, in my profile, but brian@brianponder.com. Once I get that email, you'll get a response that will send you a link to bonus materials, which will consist of all the letters in the book. I'm going to send it to you in Microsoft Word. So you have to save, you don't have to worry about retyping anything. You're going to get an electronic ebook of the book in addition to the hard copy. And you're going to get about a dozen bonus letters. Okay. I recommend you do that now because this is not a required part. This is a bonus. And so I don't know, at any point I could change this and just change my mind and I can make a whole nother book out the bonuses. So I recommend you go ahead and grab that book now before I come to my senses, because the book itself has plenty in it. But I include, let me just tell you, I think the book has 2 or 3 letters in it. But I went ahead and gave, on top of that, a dozen bonus letters on top of that. So again, it's very important that you go ahead and grab the book now and just email me so you can get these bonuses. The book is great, but the bonuses, I mean, as you can see, I'm giving away more in bonuses than in the book itself. So do that, because you will need that. If a person has a repo, I'm willing to put, money on the fact that it may be a little bit more than just repo that needs to be addressed. So you want to have that resource. You just want to have that. Okay. Next, if you're dealing with a repo, the letters in the book are of a generic form that deals with mostly collections and non-collections. A repo if you haven't figured it out by now, is a completely special animal that deals with special laws. And the special law is the UCC, which is Article 9, Part 6 of it. So, to deal with repo debt, this is a big debt. And so you don't want to mess with it with a pliers. Pliers, you just grabs on. When you have to get it tight and move it, you can strip it and you may not get the nut off. A socket set, you go right on there, it's perfect, and you torque it all you want, you're good. It's going to conform to that nut and take it off. That's what you want. I have a special package on how you can do it yourself and take off a repo that you can get on my website, brianponder.com. You go to products, and then it'll say a repo deletion package. Get that. That's what you want. And people have had a lot of success at that. And you can do that for yourself. As a matter of fact, a lot of credit repair companies out there that buy that letter. You can run a whole business helping people delete repossession debt by utilizing this particular thing. Now, of course, when you buy it, it's only for your use, or if you're a credit repair person, you can use for others, but you can't sell the information. So I've had some issues where I've had to shut them down for trying to sell or give away. You can't just give it away to your friend. This is just for you, okay? You can use it for yourself. And if you have a credit repair business, you can use it in the scope of your business, but you can't give it away. You can't, publish it to someone else. You can't do that. It always comes back to me, and I have to shut it down. So don't do that. But that's what you do. Schulinger, get that repo deletion package, and you can put it to work yourself. Obviously, I have a law firm. If someone needs to hire me, you can hire me. But this is where you can do it yourself and do it over and over, with information yourself. Okay.
I just purchased the book.
Mm-hmm.
I have a bad connection.
Okay.
So I screenshot it, so I'm going to send that to you. So in addition to purchasing the book, you have a separate package on your website that deals with repos. Because I'm thinking,
yes.
I'm thinking this is 8-9 years ago. It should be removed anyway.
Mm-hmm. Should be.
Yeah.
Should be. Yeah, should be. I mean, but if it's something on there that, it should be technically, but if it's not, you have to deal with it and get it removed.
And
so
you have that additional package on your
yes,
website.
that's right. Yes, I sure do. Uh-huh. All right.
Well, I just purchased the book as well because I've done some repair. I already
Mm-hmm.
had really good credit because what I'm doing, I want to align myself to get business trade lines. And
Mm-hmm.
I was in the room the weekend. I was a young lady with the I am me and the husband that passed away, and Cindy offered to, to help me navigate some different things
Mm-hmm.
because I also want to do the 501c3 for widows with small children because I was affected heavily by that. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm just aligning myself with like-minded people and doing the work so I can be
Mm-hmm.
of service as well.
Okay.
So I had a collection on there. It was an old Verizon utility bill from New York. I moved to Georgia and it just got lost in the move. And then I paid it, but it stayed on my credit. And
Mm-hmm.
so just here recently with some of the tools and stuff that I've been privy to here, like what you're doing, I was able to get one bureau to remove it, and the other two saying that it's accurate. They updated it, but it's accurate, so they don't want to take it off of there. So I'm working to try to get that collection slash what I did. I paid less than what they was asking. I forgot the actual terminology for that, but I need that off of my credit, and then also credit utilization because I used a PayPal account with 6 months no interest to fund my business, and so now I went from a 760, 745, and 721 to high six, and my highest score right now is 719. And I know it's credit utilization, but I feel like that collection removed off of there would be great. But I also want to get student loans off there too. They're in deferment. I was paying on them. They're in deferment, but I also heard you can get them taken off. But still pay them. But I just don't want it showing on my credit because it also hurt some of the funding that I want to go for as far as purchasing rental property.
Okay. Absolutely. Okay. Well, very good. So
Thank you so much for the time.
you're very, very welcome. And yeah, take advantage of the information. And the good part about it is the author of it is alive and well. If you have any questions, you can always where to find me.
Yes, I'm going to read the book and get in contact with you because I definitely want to, like I said, take the student loans off my credit as well.
Okay.
Just really have a very clean credit report.
Okay. I will say this about student loans: they're special animals too, and so there's a student loan deletion package on my website, brianponder.com/products. Those are a little special animal too. So may have another lecture about that, but there's a solution for that on my website as well.
Okay. I know it was saying something about like to do start with getting a separate address, not utilizing the same address. So clean up and get a separate address first, and then
That's not
basically doing the letters and doing the different steps. But you definitely want to combat removing student loans for having a different address.
okay. That's not my teaching, but
Okay.
you'll see what I
I
say
see
about
how
that.
I do it correctly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as soon as I get a better connection, I will be sending that email to you that I did purchase the book. I'll have you actually tomorrow.
Okay. Test your connection out by trying that Cash App and see how that works.
Oh, sounds good. Thank you, Brian. I
You're
greatly
welcome.
appreciate you.
All right. Bye. All right. And everybody else, come on now. I'm showing y'all how, if y'all in here, you might, either you're trying to delete your own repo or you're going to make $250,000 business out of deleting other people's repos. So, um, you know, this information I'm giving you, you're not going to find, for free like this openly. So if you want to show some appreciation, um, you can cash at me. Let's see. We have, okay. Thank you, Ronald. I appreciate that. BT Muskov, thank you for purchasing the book. All right. We have Mo. Did you have another question? All right.
No, thank you.
Okay. And we have Kay. You have the floor. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing, Brian?
Doing good. Thank you.
Great. So I have a couple of questions. I just jumped on the call and I heard you talk about buying your book and sending you an email. So you want that email, the Amazon
Yeah.
confirmation?
Just forward that. Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
All right. Okay. Good deal. And on your repo kit that you have, because people live in different states.
Oh, it's a federal law. It's every state. So I approach it from the federal angle. And didn't mean to
Gotcha.
interrupt you, but go ahead.
No, that was my question. So you answered it. So thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes, and thank you, y'all. I mean, look, I appreciate y'all's questions. Thank you, Kay. So, Kay brings up a good point. So, I have all the cards you need to play this repo deletion game, and it's based on the federal law. So, let me let you know how laws work. The federal law applies throughout every United States. Every United States. Okay. So my package deals with it from the federal law. The state law is under the federal law. So some states have some additional requirements, like I talked about uh, the notice being sent certified mail. Some states may have that, but the federal law applies everywhere. And so this is what you can rely on in your particular case, no matter what state you're in. So thanks, Kay. Again, thanks, Ronald. And any more cash apps? Come on now, let's go. We on number 2. We got number 3. We have number 3 coming, and let's do that. Um, so let's go. Let's talk about the rights of the secondary obligors. Um, remember, if you're a co-signer on a repo, it's on your credit report. They're going to hold you liable for that repo balance. You have the rights, and you must receive all these notices too. If you don't, you have the same ability to get this repossession deleted and eliminated just like everyone else. All right, so number 3. I want to talk to y'all about the last thing here is the sale has to be in what's called a commercially reasonable manner. And let's see, we have one more question. Tabitha, you have the floor. How are you doing?
Hey, Brian, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
So I have a question. I had a car with Toyota. It was a lease, though, and I turned it in. I said, come and get it. I can't pay it anymore. They sent me something saying I owed them $6,000, which was the deficiency of the sale and the what I owed left over on my lease.
Mm-hmm.
That was in January of 15. And this week I get a letter from, I'm guessing, an attorney's office.
Mm-hmm.
They're suing me.
Oh.
I have to show up in court for what they're calling a receivership hearing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not showing up as a repo on my credit. It's a charge off from Toyota.
Okay, receivership. Okay. Where are you in Texas?
I'm in West Texas, Lubbock.
Oh, okay. All right. So, well, first of all, if you're sued, you definitely want a consumer lawyer to take a look at it to see what's going on. With it being a lease, it may not be a repo. It may just be what's called, just a contract. They just suing on a note or a deficiency based on a balance on an agreement. So it may not be listed as a repo because they're not necessarily treating it as one because the car was just leased and not purchased. So it's not really collateral. It was always theirs. You were just sort of leasing it and using it. So it's more so suing on the contract. But what I would recommend definitely, if they're suing, I'm sure it's for a sizable balance. You can get a consumer lawyer to take a look at it because it's a lot of requirements contractually and lawsuit wise that have to be met that can most times you can defend, it can be defended. That lawyer, if they've miscalculated something, that law firm can even be liable to you under the FDCPA. And with this being a receivership lawsuit, I'm not sure, who's in receivership. It could be, I don't know. It could be anything. So you can go to a website called consumeradvocates.org. Consumer, the word advocates with an S at the end, .org. Then click find a lawyer, Texas. And then you can I would check the debt collection side. It could be an auto side as well, but that's usually about lemon. But you can do debt collection, and then it's going to give you a list of lawyers. You'll probably find someone near you, or they don't have to be near, but if they're near you, you can call them and they can advise you on your options with respect to that. And a lot of those lawyers will be like me and know how to find some defenses and maybe even counterclaims that will, help you get some relief from that debt. All right.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So, okay. So the last thing here is the sale. Now, first of all, understand if they don't comply with number one, the pre-sale letter, you don't have to go any further. Remember, the law requires that it be sent. So if they can't prove they sent it, they didn't send it. Number two, they're going to have to send you a post-sale notice to calculate the deficiency. If they can't prove they sent that, then they didn't send it. If they did send it, it's going to have the proper content. Again, both of those are going to have the proper content. You find that content under the law. You can review, what we talked about here on YouTube, on my YouTube recording of it, and see what sections you need to look at. Finally, if all those things, first of all, I'm repeating that because all those things have to check out perfectly. Okay. If all those things check out perfectly, then you have to see if it was sold in a commercially reasonable manner. And I told you all that that's dictated, by law and circumstance. Now, go to UCC Article 962-627. It's going to tell you how you can determine whether the conduct was commercially reasonable. And it says this. Part A says greater amount obtainable under other circumstances, no preclusion of commercial reasonableness. That basically says if it could have been sold higher somewhere else, that doesn't mean that it's necessarily unreasonable. Part B says dispositions that are commercially reasonable. Now, it just gives you a list. It's not exhaustive, meaning this is not just everything. It's just giving you some examples. A disposition of collateral is made in a commercially reasonable manner if the disposition is made, one, in the usual manner on any recognized market, two, at the price current in any recognized market at the time of the disposition, or three, otherwise in conformity with reasonable commercial practices among dealers in the type of property that was the subject of the disposition. All right, so it's just giving you some examples, but again, it has to be reasonably commercially reasonable. They can't be selling to themselves for $1 or to their pals. Hey, man, just give me $10 so I can collect the rest from this bar. Okay, that's gonna kick this whole deficiency out. And so that's the third thing. If you determine that it was not sold in a commercially reasonable manner, then you're going to be able to get up out of that debt. Okay. And so that's the third thing. Now, the bonus item here, the number 4 thing is the FDCPA. If you have someone, if someone is trying to collect this balance, first of all, if everything else checks out, now everything else will have to check out for you to have to even worry about this fourth method. But if everything else checks out, then whoever's trying to collect this balance has to comply with the FDCPA. It's a lawyer. Is it a lawyer or a debt collector? All of those are debt collectors. So a lawyer would be a debt collector or a debt collection company. They're debt collectors. They have to comply with the FDCPA. So if they're collecting a dollar more, or if they're using techniques and methods that are unlawful, then you can go after them under the FDCPA, which can be used as leverage to help you get that debt deleted. Okay. And likewise, like someone was saying, they had an issue where the repo, it wasn't even taken yet. Well, it's not a repo yet. But you also have number 5 would be the FCRA. So if this particular listing on the credit report has some inaccurate or incomplete information, then you can get it deleted by using the FCRA. And to do that, you would use a letter in my book called a CRA letter, which stands for Consumer Reporting Agency Dispute. If you're dealing with a debt collector, you would use the 1692 GB letter in the book, dealing with a debt collector. But before you do that, you would use that repo deletion package, which you can access on my website, brianponder.com, and you would use the series of letters. It's basically all the things I taught you here today. It walks you through each one of those things and requirements in a form where the lender would have to provide it to you. So it pretty much spells it out. All you're doing is filling in the blank of these templates, and you send them the letter. And these are very calculated letters, so that I already know they're going to assume the send of those notices, and they're going to provide you with some, but they're not going to provide you with proof that it was actually sent. And so these series of letters are already calculated to deal with what's going to happen. All right. Well, I'll take a few more questions, and then we'll wrap up here. Mo, you have the stage. How you doing?
Yeah, I have a relative. She have a car that's on her that's reported now, and it hasn't been updated in like 2 years. Like no payments, like it's no history showing since like 2008.
Mm-hmm.
That'll fall under the fair debt collection practice level.
So it hasn't been you say it hasn't been repoed.
No.
Oh, okay.
It's just hasn't been like no information across all 3 bureaus.
So is it on there though?
Yes, it's on there. It's showing. She thought that it's showing that it's dead. No, I think it was showing just dead, but it hasn't been updated. Yeah, it was showing like late payments. So it was showing like a debt, like a charge off things.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, if it hasn't been repoed, then you would rely on, if it's being reported by the original creditor, you would use the CRA letter, and you would attack the CRA by identifying the inaccurate or incomplete information and request it be deleted at the CRA level. If it's being reported by a debt collector, like there's a couple of debt collectors that end up getting this debt. I don't know about this scenario, but if that's the case, then you would use the 1692 GB letter. And you said the car has not been repoed?
No.
What kind of car is it?
A BMW.
All right. What model is it?
I can't remember.
All right. Well, if it's real nice, you can send it over here. I like it. It might be a nice car to have. Yeah. So, anyway, but yeah. If it's not repoed, then you use a CRA letter, get it deleted, because it's likely to have some, inaccurate or incomplete reporting going on. And that's what you would use. That's what you would do with that, Mo. That answers the question.
Yes, thanks.
All right. So follow the moderators. Follow me. Vito here. Um, and by the way, Vito, are you available? Let's see here.
Yeah, I'm here, Brian.
All right. Yeah, Vito, if you want to introduce yourself, we're obviously talking about repos, and we talked about you know we're not cleaning the credit just for fun here.
No, of course not.
We have goals in mind. So tell them about your private equity firm and programs.
Sure. I've been in a fund manager for the past 15 years. Brian and I have done a lot of deals together. Managed a few accounts in particular, and obviously with Brian's help, initially discovered the importance of credit and do some credit restoration. Mainly, we handle trade lines, both primary and authorized user accounts. The links in my bio if you want to check those out or schedule a time to talk. We also deal with Asian corporations, structured a lot of companies, both from the private equity standpoint and the fund. I'm a fund manager myself, as Brian mentioned. We've probably looked at about $500 billion in deals through our career and raised over about $250 million in private placement. Realized that private placement is fun until the deals go wrong, and then started to value the importance of credit so that we can go to the banks directly and borrow from them, knowing the terms up front. So built a lot of companies on that. So that's kind of just a very high-level overview of what I do and Brian and my relationship.
Okay. Thank you so much, Vito. Everyone in the room, follow the moderators, myself, Vito. You need to go ahead and get a copy of my book, 4 Steps to Better Credit. Like I said, the bonus materials, I mean, is like a dozen books in itself. So once you order the book and get your confirmation email, you can just forward that to me, brian@brianponder.com. The instructions are in my bio, and I'll send you a link to all the letters in the book and a dozen bonus letters and materials on top of that, all the laws and things like that. For those of you that are dealing with repos, you're going to also need a repo deletion package, which is on my website under the products menu. That's going to take all the information we talked about today and put it in letters, a series of letters that's going to help you delete this repossession debt and avoid this repossession debt. Okay. Kay, how you doing? You have the floor.
Okay, so I was listening to Vito. Thanks for sharing. And I had been in, different rooms with credit specialists, and I hear conflicting information on authorized users and trade lines on it being legal. So, Brian, with you being an attorney, can you share with me from a legal standpoint what would make a trade line or adding someone as an authorized user illegal? Because I'm hearing from a lot of specialists that it's not legal.
Oh yeah. So yeah. Well, first of all, the trade lines. Let's define what they are. Those are the data points of information on your credit report showing accounts. So they are legal. You've had, I think, I don't know where that case was, but there was a case where they were being marketed illegally. Anyway, so imagine everything is legal till it's illegal. So driving is legal. Kisses are legal. I mean, but anything can be done illegally. So, but being an authorized user, obtaining primary trade lines from sources, complete legal process. What you want to focus on is not using anything for an illegal purpose. So let me give you an example. You go, just like buying hammers from a store, you go buy a hammer from a store, come home and put some art on the wall or your degree, that's legal, right? You go buy a hammer from the store and go down to the center of your city and hit someone in the head with it, that's illegal. So the hammer is legal, but you've used it for an illegal purpose. So, imagine someone getting trade lines just for the purpose of doing an illegal transaction. Well, that lender is going to look at every data point of that process, and the purpose of you having that trade line is not illegal, but that lender is going to feel like you deceived them. It looked like you were a beautiful woman, like you got all that. I'm not talking about women, but I'm saying it looks like you're a beautiful consumer to them. And you seen that case where that man in Asia, Japan, married that woman and had children, and the child didn't come out so like they thought because the person was super made up.
I remember that.
So the makeup is not illegal, but look, so anyway, but no trade lines.
It's all about intent.
Yeah. So
Okay,
you can use it in a way to defraud someone, but you don't want to do that.
Okay. So my next question is, so for me, I have a credit card. I have a age credit card with a high limit. And if someone wants to, utilize my services, I can't get in trouble because of their intent. Correct?
Well,
Can it come back on you?
no, you can't. Well, I can't give absolute. So you have a couple things. I mean, your credit card company will have whatever criteria on how you can add authorized users. Some may have criteria that it has to be certain type of person, and if it doesn't, then it doesn't. There's no stipulation to what kind of person it could be. All right. What if someone, like I said, if someone, uh, if you riding with someone and they go do something illegal and yeah, I mean, think about it. When people are hurt, they go reach to everybody. So no, I can't tell you that if you sell a slot on your uh, credit card to someone else, if they go out and commit and become Bernie Madoff, they won't look at you and like ask you about it. I mean, obviously, that's obvious, right? But you got to understand in this world, I mean, when stuff goes wrong or if someone does something wrong, I don't care how many contracts or indemnifications you have, people may look to you. So yeah, you want to work with people if you that are on the up and up, and you want to know what you're doing, because what if you make someone an authorized user and they do something wrong or even call in and get a card? You got to have those things in place. So that's why I bring Vito on, because you know he knows the ins and outs of this and help people trying to start businesses and do a lot of banking stuff, get reputable accounts, and he's only going to deal with people that are vetted, really. So you have to do the same thing if you're doing that with your own trade lines, with your own accounts. You don't want to get shut down dealing with someone that has done something nefarious with that information. But again, it's few and far between. You're not going to. I mean, I think I've seen one trade line case, and that scared a lot of people in understanding what that means. But it was to really slow down. Remember, I think the person that was selling them had some representations. You have to be very careful. You can't represent, like, no one can represent, hey, buy this trade line, you're going to be able to get a Wraith next week. You can't do that. In this whole credit arena, you can't really make these representations. So, but yeah, they're completely legal. I mean, that's why you go on your credit card, you'll see, add authorized user. Mm-hmm. All right.
Thank you.
No problem. I think my Cash App must stop working because nobody's sending me any money, because I guess there's no value to this information. So I guess.
I bought your book.
Well, thank you. So I think this is gonna be my last presentation like this because nobody's. Or I'm gonna make a presentation for everyone. Send me a little. I mean, look, if you found some value, you can go to my profile and send me a cash app. Buy the book. But yeah, thank you for buying the book, Kay. By the way, that's certainly showing love. Everyone buy that book. Um, if you already got the book and want to show some additional appreciation, you're certainly welcome to send a donation cash app. Any other questions? Because we're gonna go ahead and wrap up 4:10, maybe 5 minutes. We're gonna go ahead and wrap up. In review, number one, you have to get that pre-sale letter. Has to be sent. Number two, it has to be a post-sale letter explaining the calculation of the deficiency. Number three, it has the the car has to be sold in a commercially reasonable manner. It can't be an inside deal where they're just buying it for a cheap price just to have a big deficiency. Number 4 and 5, you can utilize the FDCPA and FCRA if all else fails in dealing with trying to leverage and attack these repos. Thank y'all for tuning in. If there are no more questions, I see any more questions. All right. I want to thank everyone who donated in the Cash App. And follow Vito, follow myself, and click the alerts so that you'll be notified for future broadcasts. And next time, everybody should have a copy of the book, and you'll be able to sort of talk from a position of understanding and overstanding of these laws. And of course, if you're dealing with repo, you want to get that repo deletion package. Go to brianponder.com, products, and then get that repo deletion package. Once you buy that, you'll actually get a link that will take you to all the files. Thank you, Crystal Reed. Thank you very much. Y'all are awesome. All right, y'all.
Thanks, Brian.
All right. Thank you, Vito. Thank you, sir. And everyone, have a good one. All right. And thank everyone on YouTube as well. Going to try to work out and get that super chat fixed so y'all can continue to show love, but I appreciate you. Let's see. Is there? All right. Thank you all very much. I'll talk to you later.